Hey, good morning and happy benevolent Jupiter in Cancer. And if you've been listening to other astrologers, well, I'm unlike other astrologers. First of all, I lean into the right hemisphere of the tarot and the multidimensionalism of the I Ching and all of that. Enough about me. Jupiter is said to be exalted, while Saturn is said to be in its fall. Well, like lawyers, and I'm one of those too, there's a tendency to make our language elite and make you feel like you are out in the cold or what have you. And I'm here to DIY. I believe that there's a universal, basic way in which we can all take care of each other. And so it's not so much about elitism and astrology is better than the rest, even as the law. It's about doing it yourself. So the fall, exalted, if anything, Jupiter in Cancer over this next year, if it's exalted, which means it just gets its power from Cancer, that it somehow is elevated in Cancer, just means you've got more entitlement and more privilege. And so that means Jupiter, I like to see as going on a forgiveness tour. So Cancer is the family of origin. And then as we heal those wounds or unwind those wounds, then what we end up doing is we see every member of the human race as an extended family member. So the more inner work you do on understanding and having compassion, not just simply tolerance, fuck some tolerance, actually understanding, compassion, and forgiveness, self first, and then putting yourself in the shoes, the moccasins, the spandex of the mother, the father, the grandparents, the great grandparents, then you can become benevolent. You can kind of zoom out and understand the wounds that you chose to be born into. And with Saturn running around in Aries, of course, it's in its fall. Well, yeah, Saturn, structure in Aries is like, what fucking structure? So there is this tension dynamic between being able to trust our inner spirit and our inner truth. And Saturn says, well, what about the consequences of it? Yes, we have free speech, but we also have to deal with the consequences of our speech. Not so much the extremes of cancel culture, but just in our own homes, right? So, enough of that. What does Jupiter in Cancer mean for you? Well, I'm going to start with the Cancer, the water element. And astrology, at least the way I practice it, is all about relationship, the inward relationship to your inner truth, your inner neighbor, your inner work, and how you see the conflict from within. And then you're less likely to are still likely to not dive in or react to conflict outside of yourself. So the water element, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, is about love. It's about unity. It's about wearing down the rocks. So Jupiter in Cancer, if you have Cancer rising, Cancer moon, Cancer sun, then this applies directly to you in the sense that uh, Jupiter is expanding your sense of identity, expanding your sense of impulse. But on the flip side of that, it could be expanding your caution. At what point does your caution become out and out fear? You're agoraphobic, emotionally speaking. And if your key phrase is I feel and the need to feel safe, then the Jupiter says, do we trust? Do we get out of our comfort zones, Cancer? Or do we create stories within ourselves that just heighten that? Now, the next water sign, Scorpio, is successful or not successful in direct proportion to how much it has looked back to its family of origin and not repeated those same wounds, those same hurts, those same defensiveness qualities that come from the sign that is has to dive, has to delve into the darkness, into the shadow work, taboos, pushing over those sacred cows. I think and feel that Scorpio has the best chance with Jupiter in Cancer to elevate his story, to really perceive and walk a beautiful spiritual line between inspiration and aspiration. So, getting over those old defensive quirks that you even conceal from yourself, Scorpio, And last, and certainly not least, is the so-called garbage pail of the zodiac, which is Pisces. God, them old time astrologers really had some challenges, but it is the sign of self undoing. And once Pisces realizes through Cancer and Scorpio lessons that love is universal, love comes from an unconstricted and unstruck heart, then the Jupiter in Cancer says travel. And if you can't afford it physically or financially, then travel through, just getting different bookmarks on the internet or just asking questions of your day-to-day people you see, whether it's at the grocery store, whether it's at the gas station, or whether it's at the coffee shop. Just Pisces, get out of those stories. Your key phrase is I believe. So you get caught in the belief that this is going to lead to that. Come on, we've got enough psychological knowledge to make us just effing dangerous. So you've heard of confirmation bias and Pisces. Oh God, you swim in that shit much like fish, right? Anyway, but the Jupiter in Cancer says if you can follow and access your own inner truth, bravissimo, Pisces. And you know what? I'm going to stop here and then do each individual element. So you'll have to go to the next one if you've got some fire people, because that'll be next. And then after that, we'll do earth and then air. Thank you for listening. And there'll be more on belief is not required. And also look at our raw material, Because Tavish and I are doing a connection of astrology and our raw material, because our raw material undergirds or creates a structure under any belief or philosophy system or even activity. Because Tab is an avid disc golfer. And so there's so many applications for it. And if you've been listening this long, it's my passion project. And in the comments, if you've gotten this long, tell me what some of your passion projects are or where you lose track of time. Sex can be included too. Bye.